welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nomi, and in today's video I wanted to do a semi deep dive on some drama that's been stirring up ever since the 2024 Olympics. And if you didn't know, by now you should have guessed, we will be discussing none other than the GOAT herself, Simone Biles, and her biological mother, Shannon Biles, as well as her half-sister, Micah Biles. Because babes, I don't know if you heard the tea, but Shannon Biles actually came out and did yet another interview. She received some significant backlash, and because of that, Micah Biles came out with some stuff to say. Now, I don't know what you guys' perception is on Miss Simone Biles herself, but Simone seems to be a relatively quiet person. You don't hear too much about her personal life, anything having to do with drama, nothing like that. The only thing I've ever really heard about her drama related was really her husband, and then most recently, her mother doing yet another interview and her half-sister coming out with something to say. But other than that, you hear nothing but good things about Simone. In fact, none of these smudge her public image whatsoever, because none of these things actually had anything to really do with her. It was usually a person who was connected to her that was causing some sort of ruckus. But I do just want to say that Simone herself, she has like this beautiful aura about her. She just seems like such a sweet girl. And honestly, I really like her. And so do understand that me talking about this issue is not to embarrass Simone in any way, which of course I couldn't do because I am not a major media. So where they make waves, I can only make ripples. But I did want to put that disclaimer out there because this is not to be messy boots. This is to spread information, to analyze, to process, to understand and digest so that you can make better decisions in your own life. We're just using real life examples so that you have a better image illustrated for you. So without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get right into the subject. So first off, I just want to say something about Simone Biles' biological mother choosing to do this interview while knowing that it would garner national attention right around the time of the Olympics seems somewhat strategic and slightly manipulative to me. And once again, I am not here to bash any one of Simone Biles' relatives. I am simply here spreading information. So do not take this the wrong way. But I am going to do one thing, and that is to tell the truth that everyone is avoiding. Because if you didn't know, yes, my channel name is The T with Nomi, but there is a reason that T is capitalized. It's because it actually stands for Truth Everyone Avoids. So right off the bat, I do want to get into a little bit of the history between Simone Biles and why the nature of her relationship with her biological mother, Shannon Biles, is the way that it is. So there is not a lot of information that you can find on Shannon Biles herself, especially regarding her childhood and maybe how she grew up. There's nothing like that because right around the time that Simone Biles was really starting to make waves and become the public figure that she is today, it had already come out that she really had not much to do with her biological mother. They didn't share a deep relationship. They weren't in each other's lives. What we do know, however, is that unfortunately, Shannon Biles was addicted to some substances and she had a problem with her alcohol use. As a result of this, she was a negligent parent and was not able to properly take care of her children, which actually resulted in them being moved into foster care and then being later adopted. At the time that she lost custody of her kids, she had 4 children in total. There was Simone Biles, there was Ashley Biles, Tevin Biles, and Adria Biles. Now, when you think about the system and what it can mean for an individual child to be going into foster care, it can be a very scary experience. Now, imagine what it must have been like for not one child, not 2, but 4 Black children who happen to be siblings going into foster care. There was practically no way that they would ever be able to all stay together. And unfortunately, they did end up getting separated. Simone and Adria were placed in one household together, and Tevin and Ashley were placed in a separate household. The fact that they were even able to stay together in twos is still astonishing. At the time that they went in as well, Simone was only 3 years old. She was the youngest of all 4 children, and she remained in foster care for a consecutive 3 years before being adopted by her grandparents, Ron and Nellie Biles. After her adoption, Simone and her biological mother had very limited contact. It was never a secret that Simone was adopted, but she did not have a strong or sturdy relationship with her biological mother, Shannon. In fact, she was so close with her grandparents and is so appreciative of them raising her that she actually refers to them as mom and dad. Unfortunately, Simone and Shannon never really established a deep relationship even to this day, which is also one of the reasons that I found it particularly odd that Shannon continuously chooses to do these interviews, knowing that it's going to garner national attention and possibly embarrass Simone. In her most recent interview, she did once again express how proud of Simone she is, which is something that she never held back on saying. She made it known that she loves Simone and also that she wanted to establish a relationship with her. She wanted to have a connection with her, but she was also having to learn to be patient and wait on Simone to reach out to her when she's ready. Shannon said that she would like to have a sit down with Simone and just be candid, have a heart-to-heart, and answer any questions that Simone may have about her so that she can also have a hand in illustrating who she is as a person. And naturally, that sounds all fine and dandy, right? But see, this is where we get into a little bit of a problem. Shannon Biles is then asked by the interviewer if she has a direct line that she can use to contact Simone. And she confirms that she does, in fact, have a phone number that she can use to contact Simone directly, but she won't.
I want her to reach out to me. You know, she's 27 now, she's married. I would like to have been a part of that, but I just have to wait for her.
Now, entertain me for a second. I know that one of the last things an estranged child really wants to hear from their parent is a weepy, ongoing voicemail where their parents are trying to apologize but not really apologizing, trying to take accountability but not really taking accountability, etc., etc., etc. Now, that in and of itself can be an annoyance to someone who chose to cut their parent off, right? However, isn't doing an interview like a voicemail, but on a much larger, more public, embarrassing scale? It's out there for the public to see, for the public to make their own comments on, as well as any family members who may be aware of the situation. Now they have something that they can use to possibly guilt trip Simone into establishing this connection. But right now, I just want you to ask yourself one question. Is that not the same thing? The way that Gen Z has had their literal foot on their parents' necks is a spectacle that needs to be talked about a lot more often. There is literally an entire sector of parents who are trying to cope with the repercussions of being cut off by their own children after years of toxic behaviors, abuse, disrespect, things of that nature. Now they're all on TikTok whining and crying about it. Isn't that funny? As we as a society have become more emotionally aware and in tune with our individual selves and what we need in order to maximize our capabilities, we become more aware of our closest relationships and how they affect us. And now you see that people are getting to the point where they're more willing to cut ties in order to stabilize themselves emotionally. And you now see that Gen Z in particular is more willing to sever those ties. And I don't believe that it was ever in Simone's intentions. I doubt she ever even thought of anything like this. This was more so of a spiritual shift across the board. But whether she intended to or not, she is a participant in this era where we are creating our own families. We are giving ourselves the families that we needed, the families that we deserved, and the families that are essential to us self-actualizing. We're no longer in the position where we're just going to accept and tolerate any sort of behaviors just because that's our family. And we're in the era of cleaning house. That's what friendships are all about. That's what relationships are all about. That's what Simone calling her grandparents mom and dad is all about. We are practicing loyalty not to those who we are related to by blood, but to those that we are related to in spirit. Those we are related to in commonalities, shared values, and most of all, trust. Now, I will say that Shannon Biles is trying to practice being patient. Keyword there is trying. But in the generation that she comes from, cutting off your family, your close family, is almost unheard of. Especially when you, one, know who your parents are, two, are aware that they're trying to contact you, and three, are depriving them of something that they're requesting from you. All of these things, especially in Shannon Biles' generation, is considered a taboo, especially in the Black community. And despite her attempts at trying to remain patient, I do believe that her doing these interviews is a physical manifestation of when her patience is wearing thin and she's tired of being rejected and told no. These are her breaking points when she's kind of getting to where she's like, I can't wait anymore. I can't keep dwelling. The words of Simone Biles.
How do you handle the fact that this is brought up every 4 years?
I'm over it already. I can't keep dwelling on it. Whenever she's ready, she's ready.
I can't keep dwelling. Now, what does that sound like to you? Because to me, it sounds like a subliminal message that, hey, I'm not going to keep waiting on you. Hey, I'm not going to keep reaching out to you and trying to contact you and having the door shut in my face. And once again, I have to reiterate that I am not here for bullying this woman. I'm not setting out to bring her any sort of negative energy, any sort of hatred, anything like that. Because at the end of the day, she's going to do what she wants to do and she's going to grow and progress in the time that's right for her. So this is not to bring any wave of unhealthy attention towards this woman. We are simply breaking down this information so that you can apply it in your own life, do with it what you will, and hopefully it helps you in some way or helps someone that you may know. But I want to get into the undertone of what that kind of sounds like. It gets to the point where you're kind of like, you can't really decipher what side of the fence you should be on here, because on the one hand, I can understand not wanting to continuously keep reaching out to somebody that's telling you no, and it's just not really unfolding the way that you want it to. But at the same time, it almost feels like this is her fault. I hate to say it that way, but it's true, because the relationship between herself and her children would have never been what it is today if it hadn't been for her own actions. And I will never for the life of me understand why people selfishly choose to have children when they know they are in no position to take care of them. It's selfish. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nomi, and unfortunately, we just ran into some random technical difficulties, so I had to pack it up and move us over here. As you can see, that's my general recording area in the background. There was some issues that were going on, so now we're going to continue the video from here, and going forward, the videos probably will be from this location instead, just because I ain't got time. So, back to what I was saying, people having children that they know they are not in a position to take care of is selfish, it's idiotic, and now we're getting to actually watch these people kind of go through the repercussions of their prior actions that in previous generations had practically no repercussions. Now we're also in the age of social media where we all get to see this blasted across the net so that we can learn from other people's mistakes before we make them. However, this is not the end of the video. There's still one other person who decided to make it their business to make their presence known on social media and make a spectacle of themselves. She decided that it was time for her to come out and try to correct the narrative. And that would be none other than Simone Biles' younger half-sister, Micah Biles. At the time that Simone Biles was placed in foster care, there were no younger siblings. She was the youngest. But her mom then went on to have 4 other children. Micah is currently 24 years old and is a mother herself. And after social media caused such a great uproar towards Shannon for her comments during her interview, Micah came out with something to say, which she posted to her TikTok page.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Micah. I want to come to this internet and defend my mom because she might not be everything that we expected for her to be, but at the end of the day, she's still a work in progress, and we give her that. Simone chose not to have a relationship with my mom, which is fine. That was her choice. Me personally, I didn't develop a relationship with my mom until I was 17 years old. It started when I was about 9. It was on and off, because she was still dealing with what she was dealing with at the time, but I'm not going to let y'all get on this internet and try to bash my mom or say anything bad or anything of that sort, because she's not a bad person. She's done nothing to Simone. Life happened to her. My mom has 8 children. There's Ashley, Tevin, Simone, Adria, me, Mariah, Shania, Teron, and Shania. From number 1 all the way down to number 8. Simone has 2 full-blood siblings. That's your mama. But at the end of the day, she was in good hands. She was taken care of sooner rather than later. And that's what I don't like about the story that's being told. Because at the end of the day, she was good. From 2 years old and up, she was good. She was good, whether it be with my mom or not. And I'm not going to speak for Simone and how she can feel or whatever the case may be, because each and every one out of 8 of us deal with our own feelings about the situation. But don't get on this internet doing too much of my mom, because she tried. And if Simone doesn't want that relationship, she's not going to push her for that relationship until she wants it. Like she said, whenever she's ready, she's ready. But on the same coin, it's not like my mom was not trying to be there. That's the part that y'all aren't getting. It's not like, you know what I'm saying, she's dealing with what she was dealing with. So how could she be there? She, like I said, back when I was 9, and mind you, I'm younger than Simone. By 3 years, I'm younger than Simone. So she was dealing with what she was dealing with. And everybody dealing with it how they dealing with it. And that's okay. Ain't nobody mad at her. I have my own problems with Simone, but I'm not going to get on this internet and do too much on that, because I already tried, and y'all tried to fake ass bash me for that. So I'm not going to do that, because y'all trying to make it seem like, oh, I'm just jealous or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just wanted my sister. So it is what it is. But all I'm asking is not too much on my mom. Thank you.
Now, initially, her coming out to defend her mother is not an issue whatsoever. This is very typical, and given the situation, it makes perfect sense. This sounds appropriate for the situation, right? But here's where she overstepped the line. At some point, she made a comment where she said that her mom didn't do anything to Simone.
She's done nothing to Simone. Life happened to her.
Ma'am, you have absolutely no right to try and change the narrative and dictate what your mother did or did not do to Simone. First of all, it was not even your life. Never mind the fact that you weren't even born yet. You're speaking on something that you have absolutely no knowledge of. All you know is what you've heard. Meanwhile, the other 4 children who came before you experienced it. And what's interesting is she's out here defending her mother as though Shannon didn't do something to these children, but meanwhile, she didn't escape the clutches of having a substance addicted parent either. She also experienced turmoil in her life because of her mother's decisions and life choices. Maybe because you feel as though it's acceptable for you to forgive your mother after her issues with substance addiction and alcohol use. You feel like that's appropriate for you, but you don't get to say that everyone else has to follow in your footsteps and forgive her as well. And even if they do forgive her, everyone's forgiveness is not going to look the same as yours. Everyone's forgiveness doesn't mean that, hey, now I want you in my life. Now I want to build this relationship with you that failed once upon a time. Now I want to have you around my relationships, my close family members, and welcome you into the family the way that I wish you would have done for me. Everyone's forgiveness doesn't look that way. Some people's forgiveness is just like, hey, I acknowledge that you were going through something and I'm sorry that that happened to you. However, I still don't agree with your choices, but I forgive you for that. Still though, we're not going to have a close relationship. I'm going to keep you at a distance. I'll check on you from time to time, see how you're doing, and that's about it. Some people's forgiveness really and truly does look that way. In fact, some people need to stop while they're ahead, because the thing is, someone's forgiveness and someone's grace to you may seem like they're holding something against you, but in fact, a lot of times, someone could actually be protecting you from the repercussions that could really happen if they were to have you in proximity to them. Just because someone forgave you does not mean that it no longer crosses their mind. It does not mean that sometimes those problems and those memories don't sometimes come up and cause that person emotional turmoil. That's not what that means. That means they're choosing not to hold it against you anymore. That's what forgiveness is. So understand that sometimes, especially these estranged parents, y'all need to understand that sometimes when your kids cut you off, they're doing you a favor. That's the kindest way that they can set up boundaries with you, because anything else might just become the straw that breaks your back after they give you a tongue lashing that you can't handle. Simone is her own woman, and she does not have to forgive Shannon in the same way that Micah did. It was your mother's choice to do what she did as a grown woman, and it was your choice as a grown woman to forgive her and to welcome her back into your life. So something I want to bring to your attention is that in 2016, Shannon participated in an interview with TMZ, and she also made some comments to the Daily Mail, which was also in 2016. If you remember, in 2016, Instagram and Twitter were all the rave. Both those social media platforms were the greatest hubs for spreading information quickly, as well as garnering the reactions and opinions of the public. And so I say this to tell you that we're not going to act dumb and play like Shannon didn't understand that her coming out and having yet another interview during these times could land her some serious repercussions and backlash. And that is why Micah stepping out onto another social media platform to add her 2 cents where it wasn't needed nor did it belong is so problematic. That really made me question whether or not Micah was really coming from the position that she said she was. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about this situation. Feel free to let me know in the comments, because I just may be a little slow. I might be a little bit delayed. Maybe I'm just not getting it. But honestly, the further that you get into the video and you're listening to the undertones of what Micah is saying, it really does get to the point where in some aspects, it seems like she's not just speaking on this to necessarily defend her mother, but it's almost like she's trying to control the narrative in spite of Simone, if that makes sense. You have to wonder why she is taking the time to make it seem like Simone's situation was not as bad as it really was, when once again, Simone was not even the one controlling the narrative. Simone simply told the truth and told her story for what it was. She didn't even know that it was an abnormal thing to be adopted. She didn't know until her peers started to make it known that, hey, that's kind of weird. You're adopted. Although Micah is saying on one hand that her siblings are entitled to feel the way that they feel about the situation, she's still showing her lack of emotional intelligence by trying to make it seem as though the situation that Simone went through wasn't so bad because she was adopted quickly. If you can call 3 years to a 3-year-old child quickly. Maybe Micah has the impression that because Simone was adopted after 3 years of being in foster care, that somehow her situation wasn't dire. Could you imagine being separated from the only home life you've ever known after not only being neglected, but being allowed to go hungry time and time again, along with your 3 siblings? And being placed in some stranger's home that you do not know and having to rely on them to take care of you when the person that you came out of couldn't even do that job. The person that you've known since before you were born couldn't do that for you. Now you're having to rely on people that you don't know at all to take care of you. Do you not think that was traumatic for her? For her to move from the home life that she knew, go into a whole separate situation, be around people that she's never seen before, and then having to live with these people for years on end while your siblings are being shipped off into other households and you have no clue what's going on? Do you not think that is emotionally traumatizing to a 3-year-old child? That could be traumatizing to a 1-year-old baby. And a child at the age of 3, they have the cognizance to know that something isn't quite right, and that causes them emotional distress. Not to mention whether or not Simone and her siblings had to witness Shannon in those substance-induced states or alcohol-induced states. No one's even spoken about that yet. What if she was in a drunken rage? What if she came home acting strange while the children are trying to tell her that they're hungry and she passes out on the sofa in some kind of substance-induced coma? You have no clue what those children might have went through, yet you're running your mouth as though you know what you're talking about, as though you were there to see it. Micah chose to accept and forgive her mother and facilitate a relationship with her. And notice she got to do that without Simone's interference and without the interference in the opinions of the world because she is not a public figure. So why is it that Micah thinks that she's going to come up on this internet, run her mouth, saying emotionally unintelligent things and think that she's going to get away with it and no one's going to check her? I don't know why she thinks that she was going to come up here and say everything that she had to say in this day and age and that no one was going to give her pushback on it at the very least. But I guess she gonna learn today. Even right now on her TikTok page, people are in her comment section lighting her up. Fortunately for her, she turned off the comments on the video where she was speaking on Simone and Shannon's relationship, but she didn't turn off the comments on her other videos. So people just went to the most recent one and they're still commenting on it there. They still lighting her up. They still tearing her out the frame. And to me, she earned it all by herself. You thought that you had the mental fortitude. You thought that you had the emotional intelligence. You thought that you made more sense and you wanted this moment to be all about you and your mother and y'all's thoughts and opinions on the situation, right? That's what you wanted. So you got the attention that you were looking for. It just didn't come in the package that you were expecting it to be in. So in closing, I want to say that I think Simone Biles is such a beautiful person. She seems to be very emotionally sensitive. Say that she goes through gymnastics like it's nobody's business, and this girl has physical strength beyond belief in such a little frame. She is very emotionally delicate. She is a fragile person. And because of her situation, she had to learn to protect herself, especially from those who were supposed to be protecting her but failed to do so. They got the absolute closest that it was even humanly possible to get to her heart, and they didn't take care of it when they had the chance. So now she's had to close that gate, and she's not allowing them to bum rush in. It's not going to happen like that, because when you had her in a state where she could not defend herself, she could not take care of herself, and she was reliant on you to take care of her, you dropped the ball. So now that she's in control, so now every once in a while, Simone will go and she will have a conversation with Shannon. She actually spoke positively of Shannon. She acknowledged the hardships that Shannon went through and how she still came out on the other side, even if it took her so many years to do so. Simone acknowledges Shannon's strength and her willpower to beat the addiction that she had. But at the end of the day, Simone is always going to go back to the love that loved her and chose to do right by her when she was defenseless as a child. She's always going to go back to that love that she knows is not going to steer her wrong, and it's not going to abandon her. I don't doubt that Simone has had positive interactions with Shannon, and I don't doubt that Simone will come around when she's ready to. Simone is charismatic, resilient, she is beautiful, talented, and much deserving of everything that life has to offer her, especially after everything that she had to go through. She has been through enough in her life, and I'm wishing her nothing but happiness. And that concludes the video for today. This is a little bit outside of my realm of what I usually do, but I am trying to diversify my content and use real-time examples that can really help people understand what it is that I'm trying to communicate to them. So any feedback that you have for me would be very much so appreciated. It's only going to help me perfect my craft. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a great big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring the bell so that you're notified the next time that I upload. If you're ever looking for me on any other platforms, my @ is always the T with Nomi. Also, if you would like to send me any stories that you're interested in me covering, you can email me at thetwithnomi@gmail.com, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!